Before you scroll, before you decide this is just another story, pause for 10 seconds. Because by the end of this one, you might see single parents, love, and quiet sacrifices very differently. If this story touches you even a little, tap like, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us. Stories like this deserve to be shared. Why won't you date? His boss asked casually, not looking up from her laptop. The question sounded harmless, almost joking, but it landed like a stone in his chest. Daniel froze in the doorway of her office, one hand gripping a folder, the other still smelling faintly of peanut butter from making his son's breakfast that morning. He hadn't expected that question. Not from her, not now, and definitely not in a tone that suggested curiosity instead of judgment. Daniel was 34, a senior analyst who never missed deadlines, never took long lunches, and never joined after-work drinks. Around the office, people admired his work ethic but whispered about his personal life. Single, no girlfriend, no dating apps, no stories, just work and home, always home. His boss, Claire, was sharp, driven, and used to getting answers. She finally looked up and noticed the way his shoulders had stiffened. I didn't mean to pry, she said, softening slightly. It's just, people talk. You're young, you're kind, you've got your life together. I guess I'm curious. Daniel swallowed. He could have laughed it off. Could have said he was busy, or picky, or just not interested. That's what he usually said. Easy answers for people who didn't really want the truth. But something about the way she looked at him, less like a boss, more like a human being, made the wall crack. My son, he said quietly. That's why. Claire blinked. She knew Daniel had a child. Everyone did, but she didn't know the rest. Almost no one did. She gestured for him to sit, the laptop forgotten. Daniel sat, staring at the carpet, and began a story he rarely allowed himself to tell out loud. His wife, Lily, had died 5 years earlier. Cancer. Aggressive. Unfair. One year she was laughing, teasing him about his terrible singing. The next, he was holding her hand in a hospital room, promising her he would be strong for their baby boy, even as she faded away. Their son, Noah, was barely 2 at the time, too young to understand why Mama stopped coming home. At first, Daniel said, his voice steady but thin, people told me I'd move on. That I'd meet someone new. That Noah needed a mother figure. Like love was a replacement part you could just order. Claire said nothing, she just listened. I tried dating, he continued. Once, maybe twice, and every time, it felt wrong. Not because the women were bad. They were kind, patient, but I'd watch the clock the whole time. I'd wonder if Noah had eaten. If he missed me. If he woke up crying and I wasn't there. And then I'd see the look in their eyes when they realized my son would always come first. Some understood, some didn't, but all of them deserved more than half of me. He paused, rubbing his hands together. So I stopped, because Noah didn't ask to be born into loss. He didn't ask for a tired dad who was always torn between wanting adult connection and wanting to be present. I decided if I had to choose, I'd choose him. Every time. Claire felt her throat tighten. She'd managed teams for years, negotiated million-dollar contracts, handled crises without blinking. But this cracked something open. She thought about the nights Daniel left early for school plays, the mornings he arrived with dark circles under his eyes, the way he never complained. Doesn't it get lonely? She asked softly. Daniel smiled, and it was a sad, beautiful thing. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, when I remember what it felt like to be someone's first choice. But then Noah crawls into my bed after a nightmare, wraps his arms around my neck, and says, Daddy, you're my best friend. And the loneliness, it shrinks. It doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable. Claire leaned back, emotions swirling. She realized how unfair her question had been, even if unintentional. How many times had society asked single parents to explain themselves, to justify their choices, to prove they were still worthy of love or ambition? Weeks passed after that conversation, but something changed. Claire began to see Daniel differently. Not as the quiet employee who kept to himself, but as a man carrying a whole universe on his shoulders. She noticed how he lit up when talking about nose drawings, how he scheduled meetings around parent-teacher conferences, how he stayed late only after confirming his son was asleep. One evening, the office hosted a small family-friendly event. Claire almost didn't go, but she did, and she saw Daniel there, crouched on the floor, helping Noah build a crooked tower of blocks. Noah laughed when it fell, that pure, uninhibited laughter that only children have. Daniel laughed too, free and unguarded in a way Claire had never seen. Noah looked up at her. "Are you Daddy's boss?" he asked bluntly. Claire smiled and nodded. "I am." He considered this seriously. "Daddy works hard, but he makes the best pancakes." Daniel flushed, embarrassed. Claire laughed, genuinely this time. And in that moment, she understood something important. Love wasn't missing from Daniel's life. It was overflowing, just not in the shape people expected. A few days later, Claire called him into her office again. Daniel's stomach tightened out of habit. "I want you to know," she said, "that what you're doing matters. Not just here, but at home. And if anyone ever makes you feel like your life is incomplete because you're not dating, send them to me." Daniel chuckled, relief washing over him. "Thank you." As he left, Claire added, "And for what it's worth, if you ever decide to date again, it shouldn't be because someone asked why you won't. It should be because you want to. On your terms." That night, Daniel tucked Noah into bed. They read the same book they'd read 100 times. Noah yawned, eyes heavy. "Daddy," he murmured. "Yeah, buddy, are you happy?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He thought about Lily, about loss, about quiet nights and loud mornings, about sacrifices no one applauded, about love that showed up every single day. "Yes," he said finally. "I am." Noah smiled, already drifting off. Daniel turned off the light and stood there for a moment, letting the truth of that answer settle in. Life hadn't turned out the way he'd planned, but it had given him something fierce and real and worth choosing every day. And maybe someday, love would find him again. Maybe it wouldn't. Either way, he knew this much: being a good father wasn't a waiting room for happiness. It was happiness. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of someone you love, or yourself, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the quietest answers are the ones that break us open and teach us what really matters.